Good morning and welcome to Zen Fits here in Blackstone, Virginia, the center of the world where everything fits. My talks are kind of like that in the sense that I try to make things fit. You know, but there's so many, particularly in the Buddha world, the non-dual world, you know, where on social media where we swim around in. Everybody's quoting yoga or Buddha quotes, or all these teachers and the banners and the quotes, and we just it's like a snowstorm of Buddha quotes or a snowstorm of yoga quotes, and Krishnamurti and Ramana Maharshi and yada, you know, and on, and Ram Dass, and I was just throwing quotes around. It's a snowstorm of quotes, spiritual banners, and it doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. Nobody knows what anything means, really. We don't really know what anything means. We just throw the words around as if we knew what they meant, and we can go, aha, I know what I meant. I'm a member of the club now. I can pass quotes around and get some aha. Oh, thank you so much. I needed that. I get that a lot, you know. Throw a quote out there, get some amens. Oh, right. I'm saving the world. You know, nobody knows what it means. We don't really meditate on any of these quotes. We don't dig into them. We don't pull them apart. Where's my cotton ball? You know, it's my cotton ball. When I was in North Carolina, when the cotton was growing, I stopped and picked a cotton ball from North Carolina. And boys, it got thorns on it. Look at that. You can really, there's going to be blood on the snow if you pick this thing. You know, it's like a rose, a white rose, you know, and you're going to blood on the snow. And it's got little seeds in there. And boy, they are tightly wound in there. You got to pull. This is why before the cotton gin, slavery would not have, you know, the cotton was not workable as long as these seeds were in here, and you had to get them out by hand. You cannot believe how. Look at that. It's like a little ball in your dog's hair. You know, where you can't get it out. You know. So, but when the cotton gin was invented, why am I getting on this? The seeds could be pulled out by the machine, and so we had to have more slaves because now they had to grow more cotton, and the textile factories in England were pumping out textiles and needed cotton anyway. So they had to get the seeds out. It was kind of like now, social media is kind of like the cotton gin. It pulls the seeds out for you. You don't have to work to get the meaning of a word. You don't have to work to get the meaning of a teaching. The machine pulls them out, and all you get nice cotton. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to get the seeds out, you see. It's all done for you by the social media machine. It's all just done for you. Nobody has to, there's no blood on the snow. So there's no blood on the snow, you know. In other words, you don't have to dig for it. Blood on the snow means it's real. It's your blood. You had to work for it, you know. You had to dig for that thing, and you got cut, you know. And it's real. Blood is real. So anyway, the title of this talk is what is it? I forgot. Anyway, but I want to talk about dependent origination. Now, this is one idea that gets thrown out there. Impermanence, emptiness. These words come out of Buddhism. Nobody knows what they mean. Emptiness. It's like, oh, that is like it means nothing. Or dependent origination. I was writing on that this morning, and who knows what that means? But these are some of the core teachings or ideas of Buddhism, which is the only teaching, really, that is directly challenging the assumptions of the modern mind. Now, the world we live in is an assumption. The modern mind, which began really with Descartes in the 16th century and the birth of scientific method and the idea of an individual self, was born with the death of the Middle Ages. This idea of an individual self or consciousness, which we call the ego, and everybody's trying to get rid of the ego. Well, this ego was born as the modern age was born, which was around the 16th century, 1500s or whatever, when England began to industrialize, and when the Middle Ages collapsed, like the USSR, when communism collapsed. It was like when the Middle Ages collapsed. The Middle Ages was a 1,000-year empire that took over from the Roman Empire. It was a continuation of the Roman Empire, just with a pope instead of an emperor. But anyways, so this whole thing collapsed, you see. But what collapsed, what was born, is what we call the modern age. So this is a rather young age. It's about 400 years, and now it's collapsing. Because the modern age was created on print. And print shifted from calligraphy, which was the writing of the Middle Ages, to the printing press. Marshall McLuhan wrote a book on this, The Gutenberg Galaxy, which basically was a study of how the printing press changed consciousness. See, we don't think consciousness changes, but it does. Consciousness evolves. It changes. So our consciousness today is totally different from the consciousness of the Middle Ages and other cultures. Egyptian, other tribes, tribal consciousness, and all that. We think our modern consciousness is every human being is like this, is conscious like us, but no, we're a new consciousness, and it's based on the idea of a thing. I'm a thing, you see, and the world's full of things. This is materialism, and things are caused or like billiard balls on a pool table, and they are cause and effect. This is the way physics works. Everything has a cause. But this is an assumption. It's a way of seeing that is useful so we can catch a bus and fix the world. But it's a viewpoint. There's nothing wrong with this viewpoint except that we think in the modern world that it's the only viewpoint. It's the only viewpoint. That's the problem. So Buddhism and yoga and all of these teachings are bringing in, and Zen, which is where I hang out, are basically demonstrating, showing, pointing to another viewpoint. So it doesn't mean that the viewpoint of the modern world is wrong. It just means it's not the only viewpoint. This is where Buddha comes in. Says everything's a viewpoint. Even Buddhism's a viewpoint. So we're really trying to unfix or unfreeze our modern viewpoint, which has become fixed. And when something is fixed, it can't change. Reality is water. But we live in a frozen world today. The modern world has frozen reality into a viewpoint that creates the very suffering we're trying to get out of. So our viewpoint, when fixed and believed in, creates the prison of a viewpoint. So all of this social media, all this awakening on internet of the ancient teachings of the East, yoga, Buddhism, all these teachings, everything is flowing around there. You see, all of them are trying to wake us up from this frozen viewpoint of the modern world and the sense of our separate self. You see, that I'm separate from the world. That's a viewpoint, and it's useful because you can fix it, build a car, fix it, But it's not the only viewpoint. The Zen and the art of motorcycle maintenance was about this. Two viewpoints. One viewpoint was that of the mechanic who loved to fix a motorcycle. The other viewpoint was the guy who loved to ride the motorcycle. The joy of riding the viewpoint was different from the joy of fixing the motorcycle. Two different joys, two different ways of knowing the motorcycle. One is the joy of being when you ride a motorcycle. I had one once. There's the joy in riding a motorcycle is that you become, in order to stay alive, you have to be the road, you have to be the motorcycle, you have to be the ride. They have to be all one in order to stay alive on a motorcycle. But in a car, you can let the car take you home, and you can kind of dope off and daydream. Just drive with one finger, you see. But anyway, I digress. But there's two ways of knowing. The joy of fixing the world and the joy of being the world. And so we've lost the joy of being the world, and all we know is trying to fix the world. And the problem is, in order to be a fixer, you have to create something to fix. So we're creating we're causing, by our fixation on fixing the world, we're causing a world that needs to be fixed. And of course that includes me, you see. So we all look at ourselves, something's wrong something's missing, I have to fix myself. So now we go to all the fixers, and we go to the teachers and the therapy and the priest and the drugs and whatever I do, to fix myself, because that's a viewpoint of myself as a separate thing. It's a viewpoint. So anyway, I'll end with that. So I'll thank you for dropping in. See you next time.